Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And as always, 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware to support the broadcast, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com. We thank you all for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So, as you know, we are Facebook Live, we're YouTube Live at Daily Divine Direction. We are also encouraging everyone to invite your family, friends, co-workers, and colleagues to tune into our internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com. We are in the midst of a FijiWater.com sponsored promo. So every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for this entire month, we are running our promo where you go to our internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com. The first 3 songs that you hear, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, this is for all of our U.S. listeners and viewers. We'll do something for our international listeners and viewers at a later date, but we are doing this right now. This is for all of our listeners and viewers who are here in the U.S. You listen to the internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com, our internet radio station where we play music 24 hours a day. At 12 p.m., the first 3 songs that you hear at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, list those songs, send those songs to us by text on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. Along with your name and your email address. One of our listeners and viewers will be selected this month. We're not going to tell you what day, but one of our listeners and viewers will be selected this month to receive a case of Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, from FijiWater.com. And so I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, we are really looking forward to continuing promos throughout the year, so stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. Tune in on our internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com, and you will hear music that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have an opportunity to pursue a business opportunity with someone you know who is hardworking. You said they have good temperament, they're smart, and you want to know if you should pursue the opportunity. Well, first and foremost, you should always look at every opportunity that God provides. That's the first thing. The fact that you have an opportunity, you have to look at it as God giving you an opportunity to go to the next level. Now, having said that, here's what I always remind everyone, and I've shared this with my congregation, and I've shared this with our congregation and with all of our listeners and viewers. Part of your daily prayer, I encourage you to exercise this. Should be, because it's part of mine every day. God, open doors no man can shut. Close the doors you don't want me to enter. That's the first thing we have to structure and discipline in our lives, because we don't want an open door to appear to be something that is going to be positive for us. And then we find that it's really, it's kind of like the old show, Let's Make a Deal. I don't know if that's even still on television, but, there's door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. One of them usually has the donkey. One of them has a really great prize, and one of them has a prize that might be mid-size. But nonetheless, you want to make sure that every opportunity is an opportunity from God. And if you're praying that prayer, the opportunities before you, you've got to examine. I like the question, should you pursue? You have to examine, is it the right opportunity for me? And that's what you're doing. So to God be the glory for the first step. Now, the second thing is just what you said. You'd have a partner in this. So it's great that they're hardworking. You say they have a good temperament. It's great that they have a good temperament for business. You say they're extremely intelligent. So you said they're smart. So those are positives. Now you have to make sure they have the right state of mind for business. What's their why? So let's talk about that for a moment. And what is your why? What is your why for wanting to go into business? What is their why for wanting to go into business? I've shared this before, and I'm sure over the years I'll be saying this again. But here's what you got to know. If they're going into business because they don't want to work for someone else, that's not a reason to go into business. I don't want to work for, I'm tired of working for a company, I'm tired of working for other people. That's not a reason to go into business. If they're going into business because they think they're going to have more time, more personal time, that's a disaster waiting, that's a recipe for disaster. It's a disaster waiting to happen. You cannot go into business for that reason. And if they're going into business only because they're chasing money, you can't go into business for that reason. So I'm going to back us through that. You don't ever want to go into business for the sake of chasing money. You want to go into business and do good business, and the money will chase you. So you got to take that into consideration. You got to say to yourself, okay, what's their why and what's your why? And if you're going into business thinking, if your state of mind is, well, I'm going to have more personal time because I'll be the owner. The reason that's a recipe for disaster is because when you're running a business, your business and your personal time are synonymous. Your personal time is your business. And that's not to imply you won't have, there's 24 hours in a day. You need 8 hours of sleep to perform at a high level. Or let me rephrase that. Some people can perform on less sleep. Some people can perform at a high level on a little more sleep. But to perform at the highest level, you're going to need 8 hours of sleep. So now, having said that, those other 16 hours, what are they going to do with those other 16 hours? And what you have to do in business is you've got 5 categories that you have to focus on. And they are administration, development, management, marketing, and operations. That's 5 segments of business. And each of those have to have at least 2 hours of your attention. So that's at least a 10-hour business day. And if you're the business owner, I can tell you right now, you have to take into consideration employees' personal issues that they bring to the place of employment. You have to take into consideration employee health. You have to take into consideration the personalities that you're going to be dealing with, the behavioral aspects of employees. There's a lot of things, and of course that comes under management, but that's going to require a lot of additional monitoring. Not just the management, but the monitoring. So you gotta know that you're gonna at least be doing a 10-hour business day. So that's, pardon me, I said that's 16 hours. So that's 18 hours of your day already gone. And there may be some instances where the last 6 are going to be taken up with business in some form, maybe 2 more extra hours, which is going to leave you 4 hours of personal time. There's no such thing as work-life balance when you're running a business. No such thing. Doesn't exist. People who tell you that it exists have no real understanding of running a business, because you're constantly going to be thinking about the next step of your business. You're going to be constantly thinking about how you can improve, how you can enhance, how you can grow, how you can expand. There's always going to be a thought process. And that's going to take up at least out of those 6 hours, that's going to take up another 2 to 3 hours of that time. So you're really only going to have, realistically, about 3 to 4 hours of personal time per day. Some of that's going to be used shaving and showering for us, some of us men. Some of that's going to be used for the ladies, for makeup and getting yourself prepared for the day. But the reality is, if you're going to go into business, you have to accept that, because that's part of it, is that you're going to spend at least 20 to 21 hours of your day are going to be either, resting to make sure you're ready for the next day, or on the business segments of the day. You've got to know that business requires more of you than just working for a company. And so you've got to not only make sure you're in that frame of mind, but if you take on a business partner, you've got to make sure your business partner is in that frame of mind. So there's another component, is the fact that you don't want to go into business with someone who thinks they're going to have more personal time because now they're not working for anyone else. So we've addressed the money issue, we've addressed the time issue. And then you have to say to yourself, are they going into business for the right reason? And the right reason is this: I can offer goods and service to the public that will improve the standard of life, enhance the quality of life, or provide something that the public desires. And then can I do it effectively and efficiently? So you got to understand your why. It can't be about you don't want to work for someone else, you want to have more time to yourself, and it can't be about the money. The money will come if you do good work. The rest of it is all part of work. It's part of the business. But you got to know your why. And you've got to know your partner's why if you're going to explore the opportunity. Now, should you pursue it once you've examined and identified all of those points, you can consider pursuing that, because it's a good business opportunity. But you got to know your why. You got to know the reasons. You got to know, do you both have the right personality for being entrepreneurs? Because that takes a special type of person to know that there are people depending on you to get out of bed every day, depending on you to be able to pay their mortgages, depending on you to be able to pay their car notes, depending on you to be able to put their children through school, depending on you, period, because they work for you and with you. So you've got to identify those components for not only yourself, but also for your potential partner. And if you come to that decision that everything lines up with the will of God, then by all means pursue it, because it will be a blessing to your life. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. And this segment of the broadcast is brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. So if you are in the market for a new high-performance automobile, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com. You will have the opportunity to virtually build out the Porsche you desire to own. If you're in our area, you can go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Didio, General Manager of PorscheDelaware.com. He will make certain that someone assists you in selecting the Porsche you desire to own. And if you are in our area and you currently own a Porsche and you're just in need of service, go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Adams, who is the service manager at PorscheDelaware.com. He will make certain that an advisor schedules an appointment for you, that they pick up your vehicle at your home or office, drop off a loaner vehicle to you, and return your vehicle to you when your service has been completed at PorscheDelaware.com. So I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, as you know, we are live right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. And I am observing right now that my sinuses and allergies, I'm having a breakthrough right now. So if you hear me sneeze, just stay with me. If you see me, starting to struggle just a bit, eyes watering, just keep me in your prayers and know that I will get through this, but I feel a breakthrough coming through, so I thought I would warn all of you right now. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you received a telephone call from an ex saying that he would like to get back together, and you say you're confused because the relationship was good when you were together. However, he ended the relationship. So here's the reality. The relationship was good for you while you were together. It wasn't good for him while you were together. But he's seen some things that you're doing on social media. He sees that there's a little change in the way the person you were and the way you lived prior to ending the relationship. So he sees you he sees some growth. He sees you making some changes. He sees you charting out a different course for your life. And consequently, because he sees that, he's saying to himself, okay, maybe it could be more than what it is, or more than what it was. The problem with that is that what he's seeing is really an illusion. It looks like you're doing some different things. But the reality is you're still the same person. You're still the same person you were. Just because it looks a little different, you're moving a little differently. There's been some progress, but there's been some progress in your life, but you're still the same person. Which means the relationship won't last. It will come to an end again. So you have to ask yourself, why are you going to put yourself through that? And you really should say, I don't want to put him through that again. But you're tempted to go back to it because the relationship was good for you. Now, there's no reason for you to be confused about this. Because even though there's been some progress in your life, you are still very much the same person. Now, I know there's people that will say, well, you know, if you made some progress, even if you're still the same person, if you felt the relationship was good for you, why would you care if it was good for him? But the problem is it'll end again, and people will say, well, enjoy it while it lasts. No, that's not good for both of you. It's not. Because once again, you'll have a failed relationship. He's going to go through a relationship that's still not good for him. And you're going to end up right back where you are right now, where you're not together, and both of you will have wasted more time, and that's not good for either of you. You both need to get you need to get a return on the investment of your time. So you got to think about it like this for both of you. You're still the same person. So even if there are some benefits to you being in a relationship, why would you want to go back to that? It was good for you, but it wasn't good for him. And you know it wasn't good for him. Now, what I want everyone to understand is that relationships should be good for both parties. They should be good for everyone involved. If you're going to have a relationship, it should be good for everyone in the relationship. If it's not good for everyone in the relationship, there's no purpose in having it. You're not going to get a return on that investment of your time. So what you really should say to him is, listen, I recognize you see I've made some progress, but I'm still the same person. You got to be honest with yourself. You're still the same person. You're still the same person who, unfortunately, doesn't know how to have healthy relationships. That's something you've got to work on. You've got to make certain that you get into a relationship that's going to be good for you and for the other party. And the only way you can do that is to work on you, making some changes in you. Because every relationship you've been in, the common denominator has been you. Every relationship that has ended, the common denominator has been you. And for all of us, you know, that's the case. Look, all of us who, when we were in high school, we dated, you know, a young lady or a young man, you know, for you, those relationships ended because we were all immature. And if they lasted until you went off to college, you were still in a different frame of mind. And those relationships, in most cases, end also. Then we become adults and we start dating as adults, and because we probably didn't have healthy relationships around us, we didn't know how to form a healthy relationship. So then, you know, we have to watch and grow and learn, and we go from one relationship to another relationship because we don't know how to have healthy relationships. And the reason that most people don't know how to have healthy relationships, believe it or not, sure, it can stem from family generational curses, But the reality is, if you don't have a relationship with God, the chances of you having a healthy relationship, the statistics of that are not very good. They're not very high. And the reason is because if you cannot develop a relationship with God who loves us unconditionally, who loved us so much he gave his only son and sacrificed him. He loved us that much. If you can't have a relationship with God, how are you going to have a relationship with someone who's just made in the image of God? So yeah, it could stem from our, not seeing healthy relationships as we've grown to be adults. But it also stems with the fact that we may not have healthy relationships with the Lord, and if we don't, then we're not going to be able to have healthy relationships with another person. Because that is the primary way of learning to have a healthy relationship, is by having a healthy relationship with the Lord. So I will say to you, don't put yourself through that. You really don't need to put yourself through trying to go back and have a relationship with an ex. There's a reason that people become ex. And whether it's them or us, or both, at the end of the day, it's not healthy. And if it's not healthy, you don't need to do it again. It was good for you, it wasn't good for him. And so why would you revisit that? Because you're still the same person. You're still the same person you were when that relationship ended the first time. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything the man could possibly need. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your husband says that he does not feel appreciated. You said, however, you do not understand why he feels that way, and you want to know what can you do to make him feel more appreciated. Well, here's the reality. Wives have one standard for their husbands, and husbands have a different standard for themselves. And part of what your husband is dealing with, based on your communication that you shared, part of it is that you only expect him to do what he's doing because he's a responsible man. You expect him to keep working to be successful. You expect him to be a good father. You expect him to do all of the things that he's supposed to do as a man. So therefore, you don't feel it's necessary to be thankful. You don't feel you're thankful to God, but you don't feel that it's necessary to be thankful for your husband. You don't feel that it requires you to express your appreciation for who he is and what he does. It's just your expectation. And he is saying, at least can you acknowledge the fact that he's doing what needs to be done? Can you at least acknowledge the fact that your lives have been blessed? That's really what he's saying to you. And because he doesn't get that from you, he doesn't feel appreciated. Well, he'll learn to live with that. And he'll learn that as long as he continues to do what he's doing, God appreciates the fact, God respects the fact. God's not a respecter of persons, but he does respect the fact that he's fulfilling the assignment that God has purposed for his life. And once he learns that, he won't have any expectation of you showing or demonstrating or even